Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Splatoon! Last time we went over the first ranked battle mode known as Splat Zones, and in this episode we are going to be going over the second released ranked battle mode of Splatoon known as Tower Control. So as always, I'm going to be going over the rules, strategies, trivia, things of that nature about the mode. Beginning with the fact that Tower Control was revealed to the world on May 7th, 2015 in a Splatoon-centered Nintendo Direct, and it was subsequently released on July 1st of the same year. So before we get into everything about the mode and the strategies and all that, once again, a huge thank you to LaterGator to you for joining me for the recording of this footage that you are currently seeing. You can check him out down below. So, Tower Control. Usually, it's gonna be 2 teams of 4, but in this, how these videos work, it's basically just me versus LaterGator to you just to show it off. Because it would be a pain, actually, to record enough footage of actual ranked for each map on each mode. But nonetheless, anyways, normally in Tower Control, there will be 2 teams of 4 Inklings fighting to control a central tower. Now, the tower is a large blue cube with a stake on top and a grate that creates an overhang surrounding the entire top surface. Its walls and ground can be inked, but the post and naturally the grate cannot be inked. The tower will move through a map along a predetermined path that starts and ends at quote-unquote goal spots that are located in the same mirrored spots near each of the team's bases. The tower will start at the center of the path, and when a player rides on top of it, it will begin moving on a rail towards enemy territory. If the player standing on the tower falls off the platform or gets killed, after a short amount of time, the tower will begin moving rapidly back to its initial position. Because of this gameplay element, the player on the tower is a constant target and must be defended by teammates on the ground. The match will end when one team rides the tower all the way to the opponent's goal spot, or when 5 minutes are up and overtime is done. Overtime in this mode begins if the current losing team has control of the tower when time ends, and finishes once that team loses control of the tower or takes the lead. Now, the tower only moves when Inklings are on top of it, and although roughly unnoticeable, the more Inklings that are riding the tower, the faster the tower will go. The changes in speed are as follows. With 1 Inkling on the tower, it goes at 1.0 times speed. With 2 Inklings on the tower, it goes at 1.20 times speed. With 3 Inklings, it goes at 1.33 times speed. And with 4 Inklings on the tower, it goes at 1.43 times speed. Which I actually didn't know about, so you learn something new every day. So, in terms of how the victors are decided, I kind of already went over it with the rules of Tower Control, but score is measured by how far into enemy territory a team has rode the tower. So, for example, I ride the tower 83 points into enemy territory. So, I have 17 to go. 17, because it counts to 100. So, I have 17 to go. So, let's say LaterGator to you rode the tower 82 in, just to make it close. So he has 18 points to go. If nothing changes between that, I will win because I got the furthest into enemy territory. If a team manages to get into a tower, get the tower to the enemy goal spot, the said team will win the match and achieve a knockout score. The other team will get 0 points, no matter how far they made it onto enemy turf. If the game timer runs out with the tower in a neutral state, the team that managed to reach the closest to their goal at any point during the match will win. If the game timer runs out and the tower is controlled by the losing team, the game will go into overtime until said team manages to either take the lead or loses the tower, which then returns to a natural state. So, something to keep in mind are visuals when it comes to tower control. To help identify the tower's current position, there will be a pillar made of rings of light surrounding the tower in the sky. Players can look up into the sky to locate the tower, or you can also look at the gamepad map in order to see where the tower is currently located. The two goal spots are identified with a column of light, but they aren't visible from every point of the map. While the tower is moving, the predetermined path that it will go on will be shown with the color of ink of the team that is currently in possession, and the path will glow while it is on the path. Like I mentioned, the Wii U gamepad, you can look at where the tower is located. However, the path and goal is not shown. You only see where the tower is and how it's moving, and it's made visible by the ranked battle icon, so that's something to keep in mind. Overtime rules, I already kind of went over that. Losing team reaches a further distance than the winning team, they get the victory. Winning team regains control of the tower. Actually, it should be noted that all the winning team needs to do is retake control of the tower. All the winning team needs to do to retake the control of the tower is have more of their team on the tower than the losing team, or have one of the winning team's players on the tower if none of the losing team's players are on it. Or, obviously, if the losing team loses control of the tower. So, something also to mention, kind of a trivia fact, which I haven't really got to yet, but tower control is actually considered the hardest overtime in terms of the losing team trying to win, because the tower can easily be quickly lost, so something to keep in mind. So, the strategy when it comes to tower control. In general, when on the tower, the small pole in the middle can be used to defend players from enemy attacks. It's good for the opposing team. It's good for the team in control when the opposing team has a charger or a splatling on their side. Usually, Leader Gator to you used the splatling a lot, and I wasn't really considered safe, so I guess it just depends on the skill of the player facing a charger or a heavy splatling. I shouldn't say heavy, because there are more splatlings. But anyway, if enemies are on the tower, a player should get on the choke points and kill them from afar. I don't understand that. I'm just reading off the wiki, people! Anyway, for high damage short range weapons like most rollers and blasters, it's recommended that these players should be the ones to stay on the tower. Rollers and blasters deal a very large amount of damage, good for close range fighting, especially if an enemy does end up climbing the tower. For long range weapons, such as most chargers and squelchers, these players should stay on choke points, which is bracketed to knock the tower, and snipe those players who try to claim the tower. For mid-range weapons, like most shooters and skirmishers, such as ink brushes, those players should stay in the area around the tower and destroy those who attempt to get on. They should not get on the tower when, they should only get on the tower when nobody else does. Now, there are certain things you can do with sub and special weapons for tower control, such as ink mines. They're effective at keeping others off the tower. If the enemy team can technically kill their comrades, in fact, the enemy team can technically kill their comrades. I'm reading all these sentences wrong, I apologize. If an opponent gets on the tower and kills you on the opposite side to the ink mine, then moves around, and a teammate inks that side, the ink mine will detonate and kill the player on the tower. Killer whales can be used to knock off whoever is on the tower. The Kraken and Bubbler will make the player invincible that uses it. However, an Inkling with one of those abilities activated will be knocked back when hit with any weapon, so they can be forced off of the tower. Care must be taken to avoid getting pushed off the tower and into water if a stage has water surrounding it, such as Camp Triggerfish or Mahi Mahi Resort. Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Ink strikes. must be shot at a distance ahead of the tower on its path, so that it will be effective in reclaiming the tower, otherwise it will simply miss. Splash walls can be put up in front of the tower in times of pain. Suction bombs stick to the tower and cover a large area, but their slow detonation time means an Inkling can ride the tower. That Inklings riding the tower may be able to protect themselves by moving to the opposite side of the spire. For best effect when it comes to suction bombs, try to throw one on the far side of the platform, forcing the riders to move to the side you're on, and then you can attack them with your main weapon. Beacons can also be used on choke points to force the enemy team off the tower. They can also be used on the tower as weak shields, and as a place for your teammates to super jump in time of need. So that is basically everything for strategy. Again, I apologize for butchering all the info. There is a link down below so you can read it for yourselves in case you just mute this video. But anyways, now on to the trivia of the tower control. When riding the tower, gentle music similar to ice cream truck tones will be played. In fact, also a modified version of this music that is heard is actually available after the how should I put this? It can be heard. Thank you. Thank you, brain, for finally using the proper structuring of a sentence. The same music can be heard under a platform after the final checkpoint of the Octo Valley mission, Inkrail Skyscape. Yeah, I almost said Skyscrape. I wanted to say Skyscrape. In fact, I just said it. Anyway. And also, one more thing, tower control bears a strong resemblance to Team Fortress 2's Payload and Payload Race modes, where a team pushes a cart of the enemy base in order to win the match. Some maps include a custom version that functions identically to tower control, with a cart that can be pushed by both sides. So, that is everything when it comes to tower control. Again, I apologize for being these videos are very weird to do because it's not live commentary, I'm voicing over gameplay. It's very weird. But anyways, with that is going to do it for this episode of Splatoon. Next time, we will be covering the final ranked battle mode, known as Rainmaker. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time!